everyone. You're listening to Fear-Free Passive Investing, where it's all about passive commercial real estate investing and the fears that new investors have when learning about it. We interview past newbie investors and experts about their experiences, as well as give you tips on navigating different investing strategies. We believe the best things in life are on the other side of fear. So let's face those fears and jump right in. Here's your host, Lucas Miller.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fear-Free Passive Investing, everyone. My name is Lucas Miller, host of the show, and I'm so glad you're here. We have an awesome show today. I had a lot of fun coming up with the script to this show. It was one of those off-the-cuff things. Like, for those who don't have a podcast or don't think about content marketing or anything, I have a journal. I have a spreadsheet of all the episode ideas that I come to. Like, if I'm sleeping at night and I write something down, if I'm like, oh, that would be a good show. This was completely different. It was like spur of the moment, and I wrote it down in like 10 minutes, and here we are. So, forgive me if I miss things or something, but I'm really excited for today's show. But before we jump into the actual show, I just want to give a quick plug for fearfreepassive.com. It's kind of our amalgamation site of everything that we've got going. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you're not seeing video. Again, I'm sorry. Still don't have a studio set up. But if you're on the podcast, we have a lot of YouTube videos. So if you're brand new to the show, this is your first episode, definitely head over to the YouTube channel or fearfreepassive.com and check out the videos, check out the old podcasts, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. And additionally, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast, hit down in the description, hit my LinkedIn real quick, and go connect with me. Just send me a note letting me know that you found me through Fear-Free Passive Investing, the podcast, and I'd love to connect with you. I really want to put some face-to-face because that's the trouble with podcasting is it's one-sided. You see my face, but normally when I have video, you see my face, but I don't get to see you. So I'd love to connect with those listeners that I haven't yet. So that's it. That's all I'm asking. Just reach out to me, connect with me, and I'd love to talk more. So let's jump into the show. And let me start by saying I got my stimulus check last week. $600 stimulus check last week. We got we got a lot of money, which is ridiculous. We have a large family, and we had a baby last year, but the IRS does not know about that yet. So we got 4 people at $600, which is way more money than we need. Of course, with adjusted gross income and multifamily, we don't pay a lot of taxes with 3 kids. So we did get a stimulus check this year. And it just got me thinking. They're already talking about more $2,000 checks that could be passed. And some legislators are saying, oh, yeah, we need more money of both sides, by the way, more money of both sides. We need $2,000 checks. We need $2,000 a month. We need more money. We need a universal basic income. And you have to stop and think like, this is insane. Trillions and trillions of dollars are being spent. Trillions of dollars are being spent on this stimulus plan in general, but trillions of dollars are essentially being printed from thin air. Now, that's not a political statement. That's just true. They're printing money, and it has me seriously considering what inflation will do to our economy moving forward. Now, for a long time, you heard Republicans constantly saying, well, what about inflation? And what about the deficit? And what about the national debt? Well, you haven't heard that for the past 4 years because it hasn't been an issue. It has been an issue. It hasn't been at the forefront because they've been spending money on things that they want to spend money on. And then you heard it from the Democrats. What about the deficit? It's this almost ball that they toss back and forth no matter who's in office. Someone's going to be talking about it, but no one ever does anything about it. So what will inflation do to our economy moving forward? in the 60s and 70s, inflation was like, oh, gas is now, I shouldn't even say that because I'm sure there's people that remember gas prices back then. So gas is 10 cents more than it was, last week. It's crazy inflation. I don't see that happening now. Of course, the cost of our goods is rising, and that's what we were taught in economics at school is like when you have inflation, things cost more. I think inflation is wholeheartedly different. And I was listening to an economist say this, and it made so much sense that I just have to repeat it. Uh, Inflation these days is money is being printed and spent, and right, the dollar is being devalued, but the dollar is not. It's going towards huge corporations. It's not going to mom and pa. We're not getting more money with respect to the stimulus. Of course, we got the stimulus, but um, you know, we've been printing trillions of dollars, and that's the first stimulus check we've gotten, I guess, since last year when they did that other one. But this, all this money that's being printed usually goes to like bailing out huge banks or, Wall Street or any number of those huge corporations that take that corporate money and they spend it. They spend it on things that they need. So what they're doing is they're investing that money, which is very smart. So, you know, this whole idea, it was really funny because it could be summed up with a funny meme that I saw. And it was like, it was talking about the $600 stimulus, and it said $600 isn't enough to pay for a month of rent, but it is enough for a new gun. And while I thought it was funny, my wife didn't think it was funny, but it's not certainly not a commentary of what's going on politically right now. I know there's a lot of, you know, issues right now, political upheaval, but it's just something interesting to think about. When the money is supply is essentially being printed out of nowhere, its value becomes fleeting. Like it means nothing. The price of a gun is where it's at, and you can buy that and then hold on to that. Assuming you take care of it, it'll be there in 30, 50, 70 years. Just like the same with gold, silver, and real property. Those things are tangible assets. Um, it might not be the best investment. I'm not saying you should all go out and buy guns or gold or anything. What I am saying is that you should probably go out and buy real estate. This isn't discouraging to some people, but I think it's an opportunity as well. I think this will impact large institutional properties more than we think. Inflation. I think it's going to impact multifamily specifically the most. And let's talk about multifamily. Capital is so cheap right now, like ridiculously low rates, very high funding probability. Like the likelihood that your deal will be funded by someone somewhere is very high. Investors are hunting for yield. Oh my gosh. Investors are hunting for yield. They want to put their money where it's going to make money. And the amount of things that are making money right now are slowly dwindling. So this is, or this will, or is causing a couple of things. Prices will go up and supply will go down. This is going to vastly favor those who purchase property over the next few years or have been buying over the last few years. This is going to impact them huge because obviously if you buy now and prices go up, you will hold on to that asset. That's like, and I'm not a crazy gun guy, but like think about machine guns. Like a lot of people don't know that machine guns, you can actually buy one. It's a huge process and you have to be approved and all this stuff. But the supply of pre-banned, they call them pre-banned machine guns. Before they were banned, there's a supply of them still available. Those are hugely expensive. If that were to happen with regular guns, that gun you bought with your $600 stimulus check would be vastly worth, like way more than what you bought it for, like a lot more. And so, in that respect, if you could predict that guns would somehow be illegal except for the ones you bought before, that would be a phenomenal investment. Well, it's the same thing with multifamily, except the writing's on the wall. I mean, the amount of cheap capital, ridiculously low rates, high funding probability, and investors that are begging for yield at this point. That's all pointing to multifamily having just a banner year. I mean, and I think it's probably going to continue for the next 5 years. And so the country is still struggling to house people. So the housing demand is not going away anytime soon. Rents will need to increase, and that's the whole thing. So if we're paying more for properties, we need more in rent to make the returns, which makes sense. This is really where inflation is going to be felt by the renting class. And I talked earlier about how we don't necessarily feel inflation of consumer goods as much anymore. We still do, but to a lesser extent than our probably, um, previous generations have. But this is where it's going to be felt, and it's going to be in housing costs. It's a sad thing to say because capital is cheap right now to buy these big buildings, but you have to have money to buy them. And so rents are going to have to increase. So I have two predictions for 2021 and beyond probably, but definitely 2021. One, the political climate is not going to improve at all. And I think and that's for a lot of reasons, but maybe we'll do a show on that. But political climate is not going to improve. And two, multifamily is going to the moon. Like, I think it's going to be a great year for multifamily. I think it's going to be a great several years, maybe not into the decade, but over the next 5 years, probably 7 years, uh, I think we are going to see a run up in values. Now, I could be wrong, but I doubt it. And the economists that I've been reading doubt it as well. And of course, they've never been wrong before, right? But I really do believe that. And so I would love to hear what you think. I think a lot of people have opinions on things, and I'd love to have a discourse with you. So if you're watching on YouTube, definitely put your thoughts and your questions down in the comments. If you're listening to it on a podcast app like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and send me an email, fearfreepassive@gmail.com, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. But that was my quick rant, and I hope it made sense, and I hope it wasn't too informal, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that show. So can't wait to talk to you all next week. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.